Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. Smackdown tonight was from the Mullett Arena in Tempe, Arizona. I think that's how you pronounce the name of the city there. And I know I haven't covered Smackdown in a while because Smackdown is, the worst show, the second worst show of the week next to Dynamite. But apparently, for the past weeks, SmackDown has been putting on some decently good shows, in my opinion. But tonight's SmackDown, I thought it was a solid good show, in my opinion. We had the MFTs in action, where we had Tama Tonga and Jason Mateo. They ended up taking on Fenix and Shinsuke Nakamura. Yeah, they found Shinsuke Nakamura. I completely forgot that Nakamura was still employed by WWE. That's how long that WWE hasn't even been using Nakamura. TIFFANY Stratton was in action, and she had taken on Kiana James. We had a United States Championship Open Challenge with Ilja Dragunov, who is the United States Champion, which he defeated Sami Zayn to become the United States Champion. So he returned last week because Dragunov was out for a year with a serious injury. And I'm happy that Dragunov is back. Dragunov is one of my favorites. He is absolutely great in the ring. And rightfully, he deserves the United States Championship. But his open challenge was taking on Aleister Black tonight. And the main event, we had a no disqualification match. Drew McIntyre ended up taking on Jim Uso, Big Jim. So overall, SmackDown was a solid good show tonight. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up tonight with Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, the undisputed WWE Champion. He was shown walking backstage, and he got stopped by Big Jim Uso. Jimmy ended up thanking Cody for what he did for his cousin last week, because Jacob Fatu was, taken out last week. He was bleeding. His teeth were on the concrete. But we don't know who attacked Jacob Fatu. They were pointing to Drew McIntyre. Maybe Drew McIntyre was the one who took out Jacob Fatu. But Drew McIntyre, denies it. So Jimmy ended up saying that he has to talk to Nick Aldis about what happened to Jacob Fatu. Cody then ended up asking Jimmy if everything is good between him and Jay, which, that is another story between Jimmy and Jay. Jimmy ended up telling Cody that he saw what happened. He ended up asking Cody how he would feel. And Cody ended up saying that he gets it. And he has a brother in the game too, of course, Dustin Rhodes. He ended up saying that he is going to do what is good for him. Jimmy ended up telling Cody that he will talk to Nick Aldis. Cody ended up saying, I will talk to the people. So then Cody Rhodes made his way out. Crowd erupted for Cody. Everybody got in there. Whoa! Of course. So then the fans there in Tempe were chanting Cody. So of course Cody was in the ring. He got on the mic. He did his whole shtick where he ended up asking the fans, what do you want to talk about? So Cody ended up saying that they can talk about his opponent at Saturday night's main event, the Scottish Warrior, Drew McIntyre. And of course, Cody and Drew McIntyre have been in this feud, which I think WWE is doing good with this feud between Cody and Drew McIntyre. Really am enjoying it. So Cody ended up saying that he did something last week that was uncharacteristic. He ended up saying that he took the undisputed WWE Championship and he smacked it across McIntyre's head. Cody was like, I wonder if I should apologize for that. So then we hear Drew McIntyre's voice. Drew McIntyre ended up telling Cody to stop. And he doesn't want Cody's apologies or any of Cody's excuses. So we then end up seeing McIntyre walking through the crowd. He ended up walking down to ringside. McIntyre ended up saying that with all the evidence they have seen, the fans are going to cheer Cody and they are going to boo me. So then McIntyre then stood on top of the commentary table. McIntyre then ended up saying that the fans are all complicit in Cody's crimes. He ended up also saying that he thinks that the fans are brainwashed by corporate Cody's propaganda. He ended up saying no matter what he does, no matter what Cody does, they keep cheering. He ended up saying that at WrestlePalooza, he screwed him with the ref. And last week, Cody hit him with the Undisputed WWE Championship. And the fans still cheered him. McIntyre ended up saying that he had been screwed so many times. And this has become about him finishing the story. McIntyre ended up saying that he will finish the story at Saturday night's main event. He ended up saying, but the elephant in the room is who attacked Jacob Fatu. He ended up saying that he is always the scapegoat and he hates that family, but he is innocent. So McIntyre was like, well, maybe it could be Jimmy. Maybe it's Jimmy, the black sheep of the family. He ended up saying that Jay has another title match. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So Cody ended up telling McIntyre enough and that he is looking for a fight. And he will fight him right here, right now. So McIntyre then got off the commentary table. Jimmy ended up running from behind, and he ended up hitting McIntyre with some right hands. He threw McIntyre into the commentary table as officials ended up coming out to break things up between Jimmy and McIntyre. So Jimmy got into the ring, and he bounced off the ropes, and he delivered a suicide dive onto McIntyre. McIntyre ended up going back over the commentary table. Officials once again broke things up between Jimmy and McIntyre. And so then we had Sol Sikoa. He ended up coming out with the MFTs. And I really like the makeup done on the MFTs. I think they look pretty cool. You know, it kind of reminds me of, the poster for Dead Presidents with the white makeup. So, but that was how the segment ended. Overall, good segment to open SmackDown tonight. Drew McIntyre, still delivering good promos. Really enjoy whatever McIntyre has to say when he gets on the mic. And I'm really enjoying the feud between him and Cody Rhodes. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had Drew McIntyre backstage with Nick Aldis. So we had Jimmy Uso still end up attacking Drew McIntyre backstage. And of course, officials end up breaking things up again between the both of them. So pretty much that was that. Then we had the first match of the night. The MFTs, Tama Tonga and Jason Mateo. They ended up taking on Rey Fenix and Shinsuke Nakamura. And like I said earlier, didn't even know that Nakamura was still employed with the company. And I say that, I'm being sarcastic with that, because that's how long WWE has kept Nakamura off of TV. WWE had no plans for Nakamura, so they just kept him in catering all this time. What was the last time we saw Nakamura on TV? I can't remember. But this was a decent matchup here, decent tag team match. Match got underway. We had Nakamura and Tama Tonga start off the match. Tama Tonga delivered some right hands to Nakamura, and he followed up the right hands with an elbow. Tama Tonga ended up going for a slam to Nakamura, but Nakamura landed on his feet. So both Nakamura and Tama Tonga were delivering some forearms to the face. Tama Tonga delivered another elbow to Nakamura. He then grabbed Nakamura, but Nakamura delivered some right hands to Tonga, which was followed up by a knee to Tonga's face. So Rey Fenix then tagged in, and Jason Mateo tagged in, so both of them end up going at it. Fenix delivered a right hand to Mateo. He grabbed Mateo by his arm. He climbed the top rope. Fenix then bounced off the top rope and landed an arm drag to Mateo. So Fenix ended up going for the cover. Jason Mateo ended up kicking out. Nakamura was then tagged in, and him and Fenix double teamed up on Mateo, and Mateo ended up falling to the outside. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Rey Fenix had the upper hand in the match. He delivered a kick to the side of Jason Mateo's head. Nakamura tagged in. He landed a kick to Mateo's face. Nakamura then delivered an elbow onto Tama Tonga, who was on the ring apron. Nakamura then delivered a knee to Mateo. He went for the cover, but Mateo kicked out. Tama Tonga was then tagged in, and Tama Tonga delivered a splash in the corner to Nakamura. Nakamura went to the ropes. Fenix was then tagged in. Fenix delivered a moonsault off the top rope onto Tama Tonga. He ended up going for the cover, and Tama Tonga ended up kicking out. Later on, we had Tonga Loa. He ended up getting on the ring apron. Nakamura delivered a kick to Tonga Loa. Tama Tonga then threw Nakamura to the outside. He then ran toward Fenix. Fenix lowered the top rope, and Tama Tonga ended up falling to the outside. Fenix delivered a corkscrew splash onto both Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, taking them out. Fenix then threw Tama Tonga back to the ring. Sikoa then got involved. He got on the ring apron and distracted the ref. So Tama Tonga delivered a choke slam onto Fenix on the ring apron. So the ref didn't see that. Tama Tonga then delivered a run elbow to Fenix's face. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. The MFTs, Jason Mateo and Tama Tonga, ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a decent tag team match here between the MFTs and Nakamura and also Rey Fenix. And then we saw Jimmy Uso. He was with Nick Aldis. Jimmy ended up telling Nick Aldis that he knows that Drew McIntyre hurt Jacob Fatu. Nick Aldis ended up telling Jimmy that he will put him in a match against Drew McIntyre. And Jimmy ended up saying to Nick Aldis, "No, I don't want a match. I want a fight." So Nick Aldis then made the match. He ended up telling Jimmy that it's going to be him against Drew McIntyre in a no disqualification match. So there you go. We got that match later on, which was the main event. And then we saw Julia. Julia was backstage, and in came in Chelsea Green and Alba Fire. Chelsea ended up telling Julia that she knows a thing or two about being the Women's United States Champion. And yes, Julia is the Women's United States Champion. She only defended the title once, and that was 2 months ago, in August. The August 1st edition of SmackDown was when she defended the Women's United States Championship that one time. Julia is not doing anything with the Women's United States Championship. One-time defense, and she retained. So, in came Kiana James. She ended up saying that she does not see discount divas on Julia's schedule. So Kiana James ended up telling Chelsea Green and Alba Fire that she actually has a match against the women's champion in Tiffany Stratton. There you go. That was basically that. Then we had the match, Tiffany Stratton versus Kiana James. And Kiana James was accompanied by Julia. And this was a okay match here. Nothing great or perfect in this match. Kiana James came out to no reaction whatsoever from the crowd. So the match got underway. Tiffany delivered an armbar to Kiana James, but Kiana James ended up getting out of it. Kiana James delivered an armbar to Stratton, but Stratton, of course, ended up getting out of the armbar, and she slammed Kiana James onto the canvas. Kiana James ended up going for a clothesline to Stratton, but Stratton ducked. Stratton delivered an arm drag armbar to Kiana James. Kiana James ended up getting out of it, and she delivered a kick to Tiffany Stratton. Kiana James threw Stratton to the ropes, but Stratton delivered a drop kick to James. Kiana James ended up falling towards the second rope, and Stratton ended up delivering a hip attack. Kiana James then fell to the outside of the ring. Stratton ended up going for a baseball slide, but Kiana James ended up moving out of the way, and Kiana James ended up hitting Stratton with an elbow. Kiana James then ended up getting on the ring apron. She ended up going for a moonsault, but Stratton moved out of the way. Kiana James then landed on her feet, and Stratton took out Kiana James with a clothesline. This led to Julia distracting Stratton, and this gave Kiana James to throw Tiffany Stratton into the barricade. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Kiana James had the upper hand. She delivered some right hands to Stratton. Both James and Stratton were on the ropes. Both ended up slamming to each other, and they fell onto the canvas. Both women got back to their feet. Stratton delivered a clothesline to Kiana James. She then ended up delivering the Alabama Slam. Tiffany Stratton ended up getting Kiana James up on her shoulders and landed a rolling senton. Stratton ended up going up to the top, and she delivered a prettiest moonsault ever, to which Kiana James moved out of the way. Stratton ended up landing on her feet. This led to Kiana James delivering a super kick to Stratton, and she then followed up with a Falcon Arrow. She ended up going for the cover, and Stratton ended up kicking out. We had Kiana James ended up climbing the second rope. Stratton ended up slamming Kiana James down. Stratton delivered the swanton to Kiana James. Stratton ended up climbing the top rope, landed the prettiest moonsault ever onto Kiana James. She went for the cover, and there you go. Tiffany Stratton ended up winning the match. Post-match, Julia got into the ring. She had pinned Stratton from behind. This led to JADE CARGILL coming out. Jade came into the ring. Julia ended up going for a right hand to Cargill, but Cargill ended up delivering a kick to Julia's face, and Cargill followed up that kick with a jumping kick to Julia. Kiana James ended up getting on the ring apron, but Cargill delivered a right hand to James. Julia and Kiana James ended up walking to the back. Then we saw JADE CARGILL end up extending her hand to Stratton, who was on the canvas. Cargill helped Stratton up, and she raised Stratton's arm in the air. So, as Cargill was about to walk away, she ended up hitting Stratton with a clothesline. So JADE CARGILL turned heel here on Stratton. Cargill then threw Stratton into the corner and started kicking away at her. Cargill then threw Stratton into the ring post and to the outside. She then threw Stratton into the ring steps. Cargill then threw Stratton over the commentary table and started delivering some kicks and some right hands. Officials then came out to break things up between Cargill and Stratton. So Cargill walked away. She ended up coming back and she grabbed Stratton, throwing her toward the ring steps. We saw Stratton's leg was leaning on the ring steps, and Cargill ended up kicking Stratton's leg into the steps. Cargill got into the ring and grabbed the women's championship. She stared at it and then dropped it onto the canvas. So pretty much that was basically that. But Jade Cargill, she ended up working good as a heel when we saw her in AEW, and she was getting a little stale as a babyface here. Although the heel turn from Cargill, this was not a shock to anybody, including me. But, like I said, Jade Cargill, she works much better as a heel than a babyface. But in the ring, she's just very meh. Yeah, she's going to get her shot at the Women's Championship with Tiffany Stratton. But overall, okay match it was between Stratton and Kiana James. Nothing special, nothing great happened. Now we see Ilja Dragunov, the United States champion. He was walking backstage and he was stopped by the former United States champion, Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn congratulated Dragunov. They both shook hands. Dragunov ended up telling Sami that he respects him so much, and what he did with the open challenges was legendary. Sami ended up telling Dragunov that the open challenges are no joke. He ended up saying John Cena started them, and he passed it on to him. And now he is passing it on to Dragunov. So Sami ended up telling Dragunov they has to be willing to have a target on his chest every week. He ended up telling Dragunov to go out and do it. So Dragunov ended up thanking Sami, and he walked off. Pretty much that was basically that. So Dragunov is now, doing the open challenges for the United States Championship. So, I don't know if you all noticed this, but Dragunov now has a neck tattoo, which I think, looks pretty cool. But I don't think it's, he didn't finish it yet. But so far, it looks cool on Dragunov. And as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Jade Cargill. She was walking backstage and she got stopped by Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly ended up asking Cargill if she is worried about the consequence. Cargill ended up telling Kathy Kelly that you only face consequences when you make mistakes. And she didn't make any mistakes. Cargill ended up saying that she is not asking for power. She is taking it, beginning with the Women's Championship. There you go. That's what Jade Cargill had to say. And then we had Ilja Dragunov. He ended up coming to the ring. Dragunov ended up getting on the mic as the fans were chanting to Dragunov, "You deserve it," for him winning the United States Championship. He earns that respect because he was out for a year with a serious injury. He comes back and wins the United States Championship. Dragunov ended up saying that he has missed the fans. We missed Dragunov as well. Dragunov is just absolutely great in the ring, and he puts on banger after banger matches. Dragunov ended up saying that this year of recovery had a lot of highs and some extremely devastating lows. He ended up saying at a lot of points, he didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But one thing is that giving up does not exist in his genetics. He ended up saying because of the obsession he has in his heart, he stands in front of the fans as the new United States champion. Dragunov ended up going to say that where he comes from, they say how you do one thing, you do all things. And he will defend it with all obsession. He ended up saying that he won the title from a great man in Sami Zayn. Dragunov ended up saying that it is his duty to open the legacy of the Open Challenge. He ended up saying, tonight, pain shall entertain them. So then the lights go out in the arena, and his Open Challenge, his opponent for his Open Challenge was Aleister Black. So we saw Zelina Vega, of course, who was Aleister Black's wife. She was dressed in black. She accompanied her husband. And Zelina Vega fits really good in this with her husband. You know, you could tell that, WWE wants to make Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, they're carrying Cross and Scarlet. Like, that's how the way I see it. But Zelina Vega just fits right in with this whole, shtick of her husband. But we got the match, Ilja Dragunov versus Aleister Black for the United States Championship. This was a very good match. This was a banger of a match here. Both guys gave it all they got in this match, and it was very entertaining. I thought they had very good chemistry here. So the match got underway. Both Dragunov and Black locked up. Black delivered a kick to Dragunov, but Dragunov came back and delivered some chops to Black. Black delivered some kicks to Dragunov. Dragunov ended up delivering some right hands and a kick to Aleister Black. Dragunov ended up going to the ropes, but Aleister Black delivered a kick, and Dragunov went to the outside. So Aleister Black distracted the ref as Zelina Vega got on the ring apron, and she landed a hurricanrana to Dragunov. Typical Zelina Vega, heelish, Zelina Vega here. What she used to do when she was heel, where, when she was with Andrade would distract the ref, and Zelina would do her hurricanrana to, Andrade's opponent. Same what she's doing here with, her husband in Aleister Black. Aleister Black distracting the ref. Zelina, in typical heel fashion, delivers the hurricanrana to his opponent. So Aleister Black on the ring apron, and he kicked Dragunov in the face. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we seen Dragunov, who has the upper hand in the match. He delivered a boot to Aleister Black's face. Dragunov ended up delivering a German suplex to Black. Black tried to get out of the German suplex, but Dragunov delivered another German suplex. Dragunov lifted Aleister up and slammed him onto the canvas. Dragunov ended up going for the cover, but Aleister Black ended up kicking out. Fans were loving what they were seeing. They were chanting, "This is awesome." Dragunov then climbed the top rope, but Zelina Vega got on the ring apron, and that distracted Dragunov. This led to Aleister tripping Dragunov up, and Dragunov ended up falling to the canvas. Aleister delivered some double knees off the top rope to Dragunov, which was followed by a kick to Dragunov's head. He went for a German suplex to Dragunov. He ended up going for the cover, and Dragunov ended up kicking out. We had Dragunov end up delivering the Constantine special to Aleister Black. So then, after SmackDown came back from the commercial, Dragunov once again had the upper hand in the match. He climbed the top rope, and he landed a senton onto Aleister Black. He ended up going for the cover, but Aleister ended up kicking out. Dragunov ended up going for the Torpedo Moscow, but Aleister delivered a knee to Dragunov's head. Aleister then delivered a brainbuster to Dragunov. He went for the cover, and Dragunov kicked out. Aleister ended up going for the Black Mass, but Dragunov delivered another Torpedo Moscow to Aleister. So Dragunov then ended up going for the H-bomb, but Zelina ended up tripping Dragunov up. And that distracted Dragunov, and Aleister ended up hitting Dragunov from behind. The ref ended up telling Zelina that he saw that she tripped up Dragunov. And the ref barred Zelina Vega from ringside. So this led to Damian Priest coming out. Priest was shown wearing sunglasses. He then stopped. He took off his sunglasses. And he revealed the bruise that was done to him because Aleister ended up launching a fireball at Damian Priest. And that reveal of the bruises distracted Aleister. So Aleister then turned around. Dragunov then delivered another Torpedo Moscow to Aleister. He ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Ilja Dragunov ended up winning the match, retaining the United States Championship. As shall be. Post-match, Priest got into the ring. He ended up pinning Aleister with some right hands. And he elbowed Aleister in the face. Priest then threw Aleister to the outside. He placed Aleister onto the commentary table. He then grabbed 2 steel chairs. So Damian Priest was going to hit a chair shot to Aleister. This led to Zelina Vega jumping onto Damian Priest's back, and she raked Damian Priest's eyes. She then grabbed Aleister, and they jumped the barricade to escape away from Damian Priest. And pretty much that was basically that. So, still continuing the feud with Damian Priest and Aleister Black, which I have been liking. But overall, banger of a match this was between Dragunov and Aleister Black. Like I said, they had chemistry in this match. They worked really well together. Just very good match it was. Very enjoyable. And then we had Kathy Kelly. She was with Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo ended up telling Kathy Kelly that it goes without saying that The Miz is a future Hall of Famer. And he taught him a lot, inside and outside of the ring. He ended up saying that he is forever grateful. Carmelo ended up saying that Miz crossed the line when he put his hands on him. And last week he had to do what he had to do. He ended up saying that revenge is a double-edged sword. And as far as he is concerned, him and The Miz are even. Carmelo ended up saying that now he can get back on track to fulfilling his destiny. He ended up saying that he owes it to the people and to himself to get back on track to being him. And then all of a sudden, Kit Wilson comes to Carmelo Hayes. He ended up telling Carmelo Hayes to wake up. He ended up saying that it would be a crime if he let him interrupt him and get away with it. So Carmelo Hayes ended up challenging Kit Wilson to a match next week. And pretty much that was basically that. And I'm really glad that Carmelo Hayes is now finally away from The Miz. The Miz was just dragging Carmelo Hayes down. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Dragunov was shown walking backstage. And he was stopped by Fraxium. Fraxium telling Dragunov that they would both like to challenge him to a match. To which Dragunov ended up telling Fraxium that the open challenge is for anyone, including tag teams. So Dragunov then walked away. In came DIY, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and Candice LeRae. DIY ended up telling Fraxium to make their dreams much smaller. Candice ended up telling Axiom that he can begin by taking off his mask. So Fraxium ended up telling DIY that they are scared. And Candice ended up saying, oh, you guys are a waste of time. And pretty much that was basically that. Originally, it was supposed to be DIY versus Fraxium tonight. But that didn't end up happening. So we just got this backstage segment here with them. So in came Tama Tonga. He ended up shushing Fraxium. He ended up doing his coat throat sign, and pretty much that was that. And then we saw Kathy Kelly, and she was with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, the women's tag team champions. So Kathy Kelly ended up telling Charlotte Flair and Alexa that Bayley made a challenge, saying if they are the champions, they think they are, they will be on Monday Night Raw. So Charlotte and Bliss ended up telling Kathy Kelly that they saw Bayley. And then came Nia Jax. Yeah, Nia Jax is back. Oh, yippee. So Nia ended up saying that she is waiting for one of them to stab the other in the back. Charlotte ended up saying to Nia that is called projection. She ended up saying that Naomi was hurt so many times, and she thinks that is what will happen. Nia Jax ended up telling Charlotte that Bliss might hug her on one arm and stab her with the other. So Bliss ended up telling Nia Jax that people change, but if she wants the old her, she can find her. So Nia ended up challenging Alexa Bliss to a match next week, to which she then accepted. And pretty much that was that. Great, everybody take their bathroom breaks next week. That's your bathroom break match for next week. Who cares to see Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax? We've seen it many times before. Main event. Drew McIntyre versus Jimmy Uso. No disqualification match. This was a very good match here. So Jimmy Uso ended up making his way down to the ring, and Drew McIntyre ended up going to the outside. He ended up hitting Jimmy with some right hands. McIntyre ended up throwing Jimmy into the ring. McIntyre then delivered some right hands, but Jimmy ended up delivering some right hands to McIntyre. Jimmy then threw McIntyre to the outside. He ended up going for a suicide dive, but McIntyre delivered a right hand, and Jimmy ended up falling to the outside. McIntyre ended up grabbing Jimmy. Jimmy then slammed McIntyre face first to the ring steps. He then grabbed McIntyre, but McIntyre delivered a thrust to Jimmy's throat. McIntyre ended up jumping the barricade, and Jimmy ended up following McIntyre. So they went through the crowd. Jimmy ended up delivering some right hands to McIntyre, but McIntyre raked Jimmy's eyes. McIntyre ended up going for a suplex, but Jimmy then suplexes McIntyre on the concrete. Jimmy threw McIntyre over the barricade and back into ringside. Jimmy then grabbed a table from under the ring, which the crowd erupted in cheers. So then SmackDown went to commercial, and then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had Jimmy end up walking the barricade. He jumped off the barricade, but McIntyre caught Jimmy, and McIntyre landed a big belly-to-belly to Jimmy. McIntyre then threw Jimmy back into the ring. He ended up going for the cover, and Jimmy kicked out. McIntyre went to the outside, and he grabbed a steel chair. He got into the ring, and he hit Jimmy with the steel chair across his back. McIntyre then unfolded the chair and placed Jimmy's head on the chair. McIntyre then ended up sitting Jimmy on the chair, and he started hitting Jimmy with some right hands. McIntyre ended up running the ropes, and he ended up going for the Claymore to Jimmy. Jimmy got up, and he ended up landing a drop toe hold to McIntyre, and McIntyre ended up slamming into the chair. Jimmy then delivered a kick, followed by a right hand to McIntyre. So Jimmy ended up getting on the top rope. He landed the Whisper in the Wind to McIntyre. He ended up going for the cover, and McIntyre kicked out. Jimmy then grabbed the steel chair, and he hit McIntyre with the chair across his back. Jimmy then grabbed the table that was in the ring. He set the table up toward the corner. He then grabbed McIntyre. McIntyre then delivered the Future Shock DDT to Jimmy. He ended up going for the cover, and Jimmy ended up kicking out. McIntyre ended up going for the Claymore, but Jimmy caught McIntyre, and he delivered the Samoan drop to McIntyre through the table. Jimmy then climbed the top rope. He went for the Uso splash, but McIntyre ended up hitting Jimmy with the chair to the face. So that led to McIntyre hitting Jimmy with the Claymore. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Drew McIntyre ended up winning the match. Post-match, McIntyre then grabbed the chair, and he began choking Jimmy with the chair. Out came officials to try to break things up between McIntyre and Jimmy, but this led to Cody Rhodes coming out. So Cody came out. He ended up delivering some right hands to McIntyre, and he delivered a kick to McIntyre. Cody then threw McIntyre to the outside and over the barricade. He ended up throwing McIntyre into the timekeeper's area. Cody then got back in the ring, and he checked up on Jimmy. So McIntyre then got back to the ring. Cody then turned around, and McIntyre laid out Cody with the Claymore. So this led to McIntyre staying in the ring, and that was how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, very good main event this was between McIntyre and Jimmy Uso. Of course, we're still continuing the Cody and Drew McIntyre feud, which, like I said, I'm liking. But that was SmackDown tonight. Overall, very good SmackDown it was tonight. But anyway, that's it for my review of tonight's SmackDown. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoy this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, I'll see you all later.